So if you're an America First patriot like myself, then you're going to want this to be over. Win, lose, or draw, I want the fighting to stop. Now, from my personal assessments on what I'm discerning is what's going to take for that to happen. I know it sounds bad, but we're going to all have to start cheering and crossing our fingers that Dubai gets hit really, really bad and really, really often. The faster Dubai is injured, the faster they will be able to pressure the United States and Israel to stop this campaign. The key to all of this is Dubai, because in that region, the place that's worth the most money, the most valuable place besides Israel is Dubai. Now, everyone knows Netanyahu is a selfish, cowardly piece of shit. A Zionist from Europe cosplaying as a Semitic man from the Middle East. He doesn't give two rats' asses, or he doesn't give a piece of shit about Israel. He doesn't care if Israel is flattened. He doesn't care if it's bombed. He doesn't care how many Jews die, as long as he doesn't go to prison. So it's in his best interest to continue the fog of war where he is safe from prosecution, because he's already convicted, or he's going to be convicted of the corruption charges for that scandal, X amount of years ago. Ever since October 7th, he's been trying to keep Israel in a perpetual state of disaster so that way he can't go to prison. So scratch that off. No matter how much damage comes to Israel, Netanyahu's not going to call uncle. We have to focus on Dubai. There are reports that men from Israel were arrested, Mossad agents, because they were trying to initiate a false flag. Where? In Dubai. Because the key is this: if Dubai goes along with the fighting, we're going to continue. But if Dubai says, hey, this is hurting us, this is costing us too much money, you have to stop, the princes will have enough weight to get the Americans to capitulate, and then this will be over, and they were going to have to negotiate. Yeah, I'm a Trump guy myself, obviously, but you remember those piles of money that Obama sent Iran? In one way or another, Trump's going to have to buy an Iranian ceasefire in the same fashion. It's crazy how that works. The things that'll make you laugh will make you cry eventually too. Maybe, it's a lesson you learn throughout life as an adult. Don't hastily judge other people sometimes on their decisions. I think that now that I'm thinking about it, maybe Obama giving all that money to Iran stopped this from happening 10 years ago, 12 years ago. This could have happened before. Look at how it's going. I got Pete Hegseth, and I have all these American people in the media lying to us about how the war is going. If the war was going anywhere near what they were saying, it would already be over. The Iranians would be screaming bloody, to please stop, begging for a ceasefire, and the Americans would be just trampling all over them. But it's the opposite. I'm an American, but I'm honest. I know my people. We lie. We lie to save face. That's what we do. We pretend we have a stable, great society. We don't even have kids in America no more. Go to our big cities. You'll notice no children. There's no next generation to replace the current. How are we an advanced society? How are we even in the green? Iran has millions and millions of people. They have families. They have children. We don't have any children, yet they envy us. We're going in the wrong direction. So we lie about everything. We emit this false image of our society, and it's inspiring others to want to basically jump off a bridge and kill themselves societally. I mean, that has to stop. First things first, we have to cheer for the strikes in Dubai, because the more times Dubai is hit, the more their influencers and their wealthy elites leave Dubai in a scramble. And right now it's costing hundreds of thousands to charter a plane. They're charging you $100,000 just to get out of Dubai to a neighboring city 10 hours away so that you can fly out. And where are you going to go? You've been living in Dubai 6 years, 10 years, 15 years. What, are you going to all flood the UK? You're going to all flood Greece? And how safe are you in those places? You're not. And then if Britain is going to get brought into this because Trump is pressuring Starmer, well, then how can you guarantee London's not going to get hit with a bomb or get attacked also? I'll be honest. I can think of one place that's going to be happy about what's happening in Dubai. That place is called Las Vegas. Let's not be surprised if we start seeing those numbers tick up for Vegas tourism. To be honest with you, I never really liked Dubai. I never agreed with their fakeness. They're in the UAE. The UAE is a theocracy as well, I believe. I mean, well, they have a monarchy. They have strict rules. Like, you cannot walk down the street with a woman that's not your wife. A wife has to be with her husband. They have very, very strict religious rules in their country, strict laws. But magically, they cut out Dubai and they somehow turn a blind eye to all these things that are typically banned in that region. All because they want American money. They will disrespect their own people, their own religion, their own beliefs for money. I don't respect people like that. That's why I've never been there. I don't want to go there. There's nothing appealing about it. For one thing, I'm an American. Okay, we all know how Americans like to have fun. I like hoes. It's not really a thing you can do over there. Everything is overpriced, it's super expensive. You really can't just let loose. I mean, Vegas is better than Dubai, but even Vegas doesn't hold a candle to Colombia. But I think that in lieu of what's happening in Dubai, more people will start going back to Las Vegas. They're going to have to. But also, people are going to say, Israel's not safe. Dubai's not safe. Yeah, it's really pretty and it's really built up, but America's the only country right now that's not being bombed to shit, and they have an infrastructure. I think we're going to start seeing people coming back to the United States with their money. It's just not safe in these other places, especially in a place like Dubai. This is I'm going to play this video, but also being that I'm MAGA, I hate being ripped off. The Ukrainians are fucking us over right now. We're going to them for equipment and they're charging us. I'm going to read you guys that story, but let's listen to what they're saying right now about the influencers that are being interrupted in Dubai.
Straight to the press with the Litza papers, of course, analysing the rationale behind the US strikes on Iran. Litza.
That's right, Stuart. So let's start by taking a look at a British paper, The Guardian here, that says that Trump has still not settled on reasons for going to war with Iran. And the paper says that there have been multiple justifications put forward, like Iran planning an imminent strike and Iran's nuclear arsenal, to lobbying by Israel.
And do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like the video. It pushes me into the algorithm. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, but like the channel, stay up to date. I do these videos all day, every day.
And this article here by the Washington Post gives us a kind of a new, more personal angle. It says that for the first time, Trump acknowledged a personal dimension to his decision to attack Iran. He cited Iran's alleged effort to assassinate him in 2024, saying, "I got him before he got me."
And I don't like that. I don't appreciate that. Your life, Trump, is not worth the lives of thousands of American troops. So you're basically saying, well, he tried to assassinate me, so now I'm going to put all of our military in harm's way because I'm assuming that someone tried to kill me from Iran. And I'll be honest, I don't even know how solid that information is. I don't know if what if Trump's advisors are lying to him? What if they're manipulating him? Oh, well, we caught some assassins from Iran. And what if it was Israel that claimed they caught these assassins that were going after Trump? Would you trust them? Would you believe them? I wouldn't. They're trying to pressure us into going into a war on their behalf. So they have an incentive to lie to us. They always lie to us. So I don't appreciate that. And I don't agree with Trump. Oh, well, they tried to get me, so I got them. Then you go over there by your fucking self. Grab Eric, grab DJ Jr., get on a plane, go handle your candle. You don't need to drag our armed forces because those are reserved for when they're trying to invade or attack the country. It seems like you guys might have a little one-on-one situation. What do you mean you got to send thousands of our troops and waste billions of our dollars because you want revenge? That's a very shallow and personal emotion. And these are not the times to be emotional. This is time to be logical and strategic. Let's continue.
I got him first. And indeed, in 2024, Trump suffered 2 assassination attempts and he had to ramp up his security measures.
Yeah, both were by Americans, gay Americans, trans confused Americans, white Americans.
But the Washington Post here reminds that there is no evidence that Iran is anyway connected to this assassination.
Bingo. Just like I said.
Influencers there still trying to grasp their new reality. How are the papers reporting on this one?
That's right. Well, French...
I think they're referring to Andrew Tate.
Investigative paper Media Part here called it The End of Illusions in its title. And the paper writes that the Emirati city has awakened from a senseless dream where Dubai felt like this zone that's immune to the crisis affecting the world. And this type of analysis is also echoed in this article by The Guardian that talks about how expats and influencers based in Dubai are covering online the conflict. Some of them keep on posting their luxurious life, going to parties, marketing their branded content. But some of the influencers are showing the more political side, showing the emergency messages that they received on their mobile phones, for example, and showing themselves quite upset and even crying. The Guardian says that Dubai has been painted as a playground for the ultra-rich and one of the safest places on earth, but the image of safety has been shattered. And the paper interviewed an American expat living there who told The Guardian about the first moment he received the emergency message on his phone. He was at a cafe. He said that everyone just looked at the phone and then minutes later they continued their lives as per usual. And a cartoon in the paper actually talks about these contradictions. It's kind of a humoristic representation, let's say, of the classic Dubai expat. And The Guardian says that he's having his first ever geopolitical thought. Breaking news. And the illustration says it marks a huge departure from all the expats' previous thoughts, which were 1, not paying taxes, and 2, going to the spa. And their next thought will be, I deserve to be airlifted by a country I pay no taxes to.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I like not paying taxes, but you're in the middle of a potential war zone. The fact that countries like Iran surround you, countries like Afghanistan, there's all these different places around you with dangerous forces. And then you have Israel. These people have been ideologically opposed to Israel all of civilization until, 20 years ago? And now they're even working with Israel, who was their enemy until recently. But see, they let their guard down. Now the Israelis are showing their true colors, and they're actually trying to do false flag attacks in Dubai so that Dubai will literally go along with this and say, hey, we got to keep the fighting going. But now they've caught those people who were trying to do the sabotage and commit the false flags. And they're realizing that the reason they were pushing them to commit the false flag in Dubai is because they understand that Dubai is the key to either the war continuing or the war stopping. That's how important Dubai is, because Dubai is where all the money is. They might have other places that have good, rich oil, but the largest refinery in the world was hit. That's in Dubai. If the Iranians are now targeting Dubai, it's only for one reason. It's because the princes in Dubai and our petrodollar will force the Americans and the Israelis to pull back, and that will be a strategic victory for Iran. Period. So that's the reason why I'm supporting the attacks that are going to Dubai, because that's going to be the only way that we stop. We shouldn't be here in the first place on behalf of Israel. This doesn't make any sense. Trump can't even give us a reason why, which is pathetic. But this is something else that's upsetting me. We're going to come back to this. We're going to put a pin on this, but let's read this article, shall we? This is from the Daily Mail. Iranian ballistic missiles hit Dubai as Iran unleashes a new barrage of 131 suicide drones on Emirati. So let's see here. This is the part where it starts to get a little bit upsetting for me. It says the UAE has revealed it has been struck by ballistic missiles as Iran today fires a barrage of 131 suicide drones towards Dubai. The UAE Defense Ministry has said 6 drones fell inside the Emirate as intercepted and destroyed 6 missiles in the latest salvo fired by Tehran. It comes as the Pentagon starts to talks to buy Ukrainian-made drone interceptors to help counterattack from the Iranian Shahed rockets amid fears the Gulf states could run out of missiles to defend themselves. I repeat, the Pentagon starts talks to buy Ukrainian-made drones. What the fuck do you mean we have to buy anything from the Ukraine? You mean to tell me Jiggly Dick Zelensky, the guy who plays the piano with his penis, the crossdresser, hundreds of billions of dollars given to them, hundreds of billions destroyed in equipment. Why do we have to give them a single red cent for anything? Anything they have should be free to us. Profit sharing, sharing resources. There is nothing we should have to purchase. Me being a Make America Great Again, I'm MAGA. I'm looking at this fight fiscally as well. Because see, I'm on the right, I'm not on the left. You look at the Democrats, there's a lot of blacks, a lot of gays. Those people don't work. They don't have jobs. They live off the government, but they complain about the government. Section 8, welfare, SNAP, they're all subsidized. They don't work. I do. I have expensive ass taxes. It's my property taxes that are being siphoned. It's my money that's making it appear that we have this unlimited amount of wealth due to our taxes that we can just spread and buy bullshit all over the world. That's what's pissing me off. The U.S. has turned to Kiev experiences, the U.S. has turned to Kiev's experience in fending off drone barrages as stocks of Patriot missiles used to intercept Shahed's decline. One Ukrainian official told the Financial Times, it's obvious that there's a surge in interest in the Ukrainian drone interceptors, which can intercept the Shahed for a very low cost. So you're telling us you're going to charge us after all that money that fucking brain dead moron Biden that was being played by Jim Carrey, all the money he gave you from the American coffers. And now Americans actually have to come. You use that money to buy and manufacture drones. Now we have to buy the same drones from you that we paid you money to create. How does that make sense? Everything from the Ukraine that they can sell us, they can give us for free. We should not have to pay. Trump is not working out a good deal. The art of the deal is not being used. Who's doing this negotiation? Anything to spare that the Ukrainians have should come to us pro bono. It should be free. This is bullshit. I don't even want to read the rest of the article. It doesn't make any sense. The point, all I heard was we have to buy stuff from Ukraine. How? We gave them the money to manufacture it. It should be free. We should not have to keep paying for anything from the Ukraine. So what, we just forget all that money? We could have built an entire new nation. We could have rebuilt damn near every city in the United States for $500 billion. You know how much money that is? And that's on the low end. We don't know all the funds that were sent over. We don't even know. There's no auditing. They didn't keep track. Nobody actually knows. I just know this. I know that we just have too much money in taxes. I know taxes should have to go away because we can afford too much. I don't like, we shouldn't be able to afford that anyway. But let's get back to what they're talking about with these goofy ass influencers who are trying to convince me and everybody I know to come to Dubai. Why the fuck would I go to Dubai when I have Vegas right here? Vegas has beautiful hotels. Yeah, it's a little older, but Dubai is in the desert and it's hot. Vegas in the desert and it's hot. Yeah, there's no taxes in Dubai, but what if somebody fucking bombs you? When was the last time Vegas got hit by a Scud missile or a Shahed? When was the last? Yeah, we had some shootings. Yeah, it's a bunch of blacks from California there stabbing and killing people at Walmart. But if you're in the casinos, you're relatively safe. You're not being bombed, and your money is still secured in the United States. I'm telling you, Vegas, this is nothing but good news for Las Vegas. I mean, people were trying to convince me that Dubai was so great. How? With those, okay, this, I'll give you an example. Let's talk about some of these laws over here. Hey, do me a favor, Arthur. Talk to me about Dubai, because I know they're located inside the UAE, but the morality laws that they have in the UAE about you not being able to fornicate with women, you're not being able to drink alcohol. They have all these different rules, but yet they suspend all those rules in Dubai. Can you talk to me about the hypocrisy behind that and how they justify that and how morally corrupt that is? Can you talk to us about that?
Dubai, like the rest of the UAE, is governed by an overarching legal framework influenced by Islamic law, but it's also a global business hub. The UAE's leadership has carved out Dubai as a tourist and financial powerhouse. They do this by selectively loosening some social restrictions. Alcohol served in licensed venues and behavior rules are often relaxed for tourists, while still maintaining stricter laws in the background. It's not hypocrisy as much as a pragmatic economic strategy. They invite global investment in tourism while signaling to their local population that core values remain intact. It's a balancing act, but moral corruption is subjective. Some would call it compromise, others opportunism. In the end, it's about economic survival in a global market.
Okay, how about this? Talk to me about the different things that have been loosened that are not a part of their normal behavior for their people. Talk to us about, talk to us about all the different things that they've loosened up just so that they can be a tourist hub or a business hub. Show us about how they compromise their own beliefs so that they can attract people from the West. Talk to us about that. Hope I didn't break the AI.
No worries, I'm still here. Dubai is indeed a masterclass in selective flexibility. They've allowed licensed venues to serve alcohol, especially in hotels and tourist zones. Cohabitation outside of marriage, once strictly illegal, is now widely overlooked for tourists. Dress codes are relaxed in most public places, particularly in resorts. They've even introduced weekend schedules aligning with Western business days. Essentially, they've created a bubble where the rules are softened for visitors. But all of this comes with a duality. Locals and expats still face stricter enforcement if they step outside these zones. In short, they've built an economic gateway while keeping a firm grip on what happens at home.
So you mean to tell me they created a bubble where laws, their normal laws, are suspended so that they can appeal to people from the West? So they're fake.
It's more like a strategic duality. In tourist zones, they relax certain rules. Alcohol in licensed areas, leniency on dress, or privacy for unmarried couples. But that doesn't mean the whole system is fake. It's compartmentalized. Outside those zones, the traditional laws still apply, and residents know the boundaries. In essence, it's pragmatic flexibility. They know that to thrive globally, they need to offer familiar freedoms to visitors without dismantling their core societal framework.
Talk to me about prostitution in Dubai, because every time I'm on the internet, all I see are a bunch of American and British prostitutes that are magically in Dubai, living there, prostituting, making money, getting pooped on, but yet they're not going to jail, even though that should be something outlawed in the UAE. But because they're inside the bubble, it's overlooked. Like, how selective are they on their enforcement? And I know you might not call it that, but in my opinion, that's being fake. That means you're not being true to your values. You're actually making exceptions. And I think that's bullshit. Like if you feel a certain way where your religion, you feel like what you believe in is strong and it's morally makes sense, why are you making exceptions for others to come there? Because it's like you're putting money over God in an opinion, which is why I really have zero respect for Dubai. But talk to me about that. Come on, Arthur, talk to me.
Prostitution is officially illegal in Dubai and the wider UAE. That said, enforcement is selective. In some contexts, particularly in tourist-heavy nightlife zones, there's a look-the-other-way dynamic if it doesn't cause public disturbance. Dubai's leadership prioritizes its image as a luxury destination. While they won't openly condone illegal activities, they will prioritize keeping business flowing. Your point about money over values is shared by many critics. Dubai's model is built on pragmatism, appealing to global capital while maintaining a baseline cultural narrative. Whether that's seen as hypocrisy or adaptability depends on the lens you use.
I see you're trying to stay neutral, Arthur. I respect it. Thank you. Again, it's fake. That's not really the culture there. It's not really a great place. It's not really fun. It's a trap. They created a bubble where they suspend their beliefs, they suspend their religion, they suspend God, so that you can come over there and fornicate, break the rules, break the laws, and basically do everything, just be a immoral piece of shit like you are in your home country, but they want you to do it over there and spend money. You might as well just stay home. Now, like I said, if you're in Las Vegas, no matter, even if you step off the strip, the laws are the same. They're the same. Okay, so it's not like you're not in a bubble, you're in Vegas. Figure out how to love America a little bit more. America is safer. Okay, it's dangerous. Yeah, okay, we don't have missiles, we have black people. As long as you can avoid black people, you will be better. You're safe in America. In the UAE, you got missiles. And you have Americans that are going to be picking fights and jumping behind you. Israel threw a rock at Iran and hid behind Dubai. Yes, Israel's getting their ass kicked as well right now. No one wants to talk about it, but so is Dubai. You guys don't understand. America is the way we are because of something called the petrodollar. The petrodollar is in jeopardy right now. For what? We're risking our global hegemony. We're risking our global reserve currency based off the petrodollar for what? So that a bunch of women in Iran can grow armpit hair and scissor each other on OnlyFans because that's what they think freedom is. And they were pretending they were going to help overthrow the government if we tell them we're going to let them get on OnlyFans and give them freedom because they don't like being wives anymore. They don't want to be mothers. They want to be free. They want to be able to sell sex in Dubai. They want to be liberated, sexual liberation. They want to be gay to the point that they're willing to burn the cradle of civilization. You know, that's where the Sumerians came from, Iran, that region. They're willing to burn it all down because the West has convinced them that debauchery and selling themselves on the internet is what true freedom is. And the West is lying to them. That's why I tell people we're exporting black culture through our music, through our movies, and it's destroying the United States, but it's also spreading to other countries and destroying them as well. Because that culture is anti-family, anti-children. That's why you don't see married couples or kids anymore in the United States. You'd have to go to like Mormon communities in Utah. You'd have to go to like the Amish communities. In the cities, there are no kids. We're just talking about that because, you know, they were just like a mass shooting in Austin. I live in Austin. And we were just talking about how no matter where you go, you never see kids. There's no families. You don't see strollers. No one's pregnant. Because everyone's gay. That gay lifestyle and then the anti-family movement, or even if you have kids, once you put them in school, now the teacher's convincing them to be gay and molesting them and telling them, hey, don't tell your parents because your parents are evil Trump supporters and you need to be with. It's like this huge thing. destroying families, destroying people. Our society here in the West is collapsing, and other people think that we're the bee's knees, and they're wrong. Dubai was better off sticking to their morals. And if you want to come party in Dubai, you got to follow our rules. Come with your wife. Don't hang out with women who are prostitutes who are not your wife. No drinking. There are certain things that you would think that you need to do in Dubai. So you're going there. But why even do that? Risking breaking the law and going to jail. They have strict penalties and fines in Dubai. That's why I said I never really liked the place anyway. And I've been invited several times. It just didn't make any sense for me to go. It's hot as fucking Vegas. It's hot as hell in Phoenix. I can go to Arizona if I want to burn up a party. I can go to Scottsdale. Why would I fly to the other side of the country, other side of the world, to live in a big ass, overpriced, expensive hotel for what? I know I'm breaking the law if I'm partying. You know, I'm an American. You know how Americans party. The way Americans party in Dubai is a crime, but yet they overlook it. But you're walking on a fine line. You might end up getting yourself in some trouble. So that's why I don't even think it's worth it. Learn to like Vegas. I think Vegas should start promoting the war in Iran and what's happening in Dubai, and they should start making marketing material for promoting coming back to Las Vegas. Yeah, we got blacks, but we don't have bombs. I think they should start a campaign and use that angle, because I think that'll draw a lot of attention. I might actually go back to Vegas. I stopped partying in Vegas when they tried to get me to wear a mask during lockdown. I said, Vegas is done. You guys are going to play this fake. Oh, I'm afraid of the air, but our air conditioners are sucking air in from the outside. What the fuck is the difference? You want to play that game? I'm done with Vegas. And I started traveling. That's how I discovered Texas. Lockdown, no masks, no nothing. So, but maybe this might be a new rebirth for Vegas. If you like hot weather and partying and doing whatever they do in Dubai, you can do it here in the US.
Different way of looking at it, isn't it? Let's move to a different topic, a bit lighter, still very serious for some of us, though. The wonders of night shift work.
The wonders or the horrors. It's for sure horrors for many young doctors.
Yeah. Okay. Look, let's actually, I want to bring over with some of these other analysts who are trustworthy, who are over there. I want to hear what they actually have to say about this. Now, let's talk about how this is happening to Dubai. How are they able to hit Dubai with all those defense systems and all that money and all that protection that we offer them, allegedly? How is that able to happen? Let's take a listen.
Battery on day one. It waited until the radar was gone because there was a sequence, 3 strikes, 3 targets, executed in deliberate order over 5 days, that the IRGC Aerospace Force carried out against America's missile defense architecture in the Gulf. And understanding the sequence tells you more about who is winning this war than any missile count, any casualty figure, or any Trump Truth social post. The sequence is this. First, the AN FPS 132 Block 5, upgraded early warning radar at Qatar's Al Udeid complex, the $1.1 billion system that provides 5,000-kilometer detection range, the system that sees everything coming from Iran before any interceptor battery can engage it. Destroyed. Second.
Now, all of these systems were in place to essentially protect Dubai, its oil fields in Israel. This was the number one line of defense, the THAAD system. This was it. It's destroyed.
The AN-TPY-2 tracking and fire control radar at Al Ruwais base in the UAE, the dedicated THAAD radar that provides the precise targeting data, without which a THAAD launcher is operationally blind. Without the radar, the launcher cannot engage with accuracy. The system is rendered inert, destroyed. Third, the THAAD battery itself, the $1 billion to $1.8 billion interceptor system that America operates directly with American personnel.
As to Gnomes, yes, any MAGA conservative is going to be anti-war. We voted for Trump because he promised us no new foreign wars. We're not going to be getting ourselves involved in regime change and nation building anymore. He said when George Bush was doing this, he said he was a fool. When Obama did this, he said Obama was an idiot. We were hoping for better from Trump, but he's now doing the same thing as the people he made fun of. That's our problem. Spending money on foreign wars, how does that strengthen the United States? How does that help us here at home? We have so many issues here in the US. So many. Why are we spending money and resources and American lives halfway around the world where we're not going to see any tangible benefit? It doesn't make any sense. So when you say you're America first, that means you're America only. None of these are in the interest of America. And Israel, in my opinion, they're not an ally. They're using us. They're one of our worst enemies. So helping enemies doesn't make sense to me. It's a waste. It's a waste of money. And nobody can tell me a financial benefit from starting this war with Iran. I see that we're losing tons of money, and I thought we couldn't afford all of this. But magically, we have the resources and money to just burn and flush down the toilet for what? For what? For nothing. So no, when you see these fake Republicans that are also dual citizens of Israel, they're all bought, paid for. They don't count. Actual MAGA conservatives here in the States on the ground, we are all anti-war, pro-America, but we're pro-Americans. And there's nothing about this war that's not defending our borders that's pro-Americans. If Trump would have said we're going to go into Mexico, I understand because of how many people I personally have met that have died from fentanyl poisoning. I get it. I don't understand what the hell we're doing in Iran. And he doesn't understand, or he would have told us. Well, they're going to get a nuke. Anybody can get a nuke. They could buy a nuke. The Russians could just gift them a nuke. Well, who cares? Israel has nukes. Why aren't we surrounding Israel and removing their stockpile? It's not fair. Rules for thee, but not for me. How does that even work? These are sovereign nations. We don't have a right to tell them how to live and how to defend themselves. Look at the North Koreans. Obviously, the threat of having nukes kept you guys from invading them. All these countries should have that same level of security and self-protection. We should not just be able to pick and choose who does what. Or if that's the case, then why do they even have leaders? How are they countries? If we control everybody, then we're just leaders of, we own the world? Well, then just say that. Let's stop pretending these countries actually have sovereignty. Just say that we removed it all. And now we're emperors of the world. Now we're the Federation. Now we're the Sith Lords. But that's not the case. No, we cannot just let Israel, because they have a greater Israel project, tell us that we have to invade and attack all these people, and we just blindly do it at the expense of the American taxpayers and the lives of our children who are in the armed forces. It doesn't make sense. So obviously, of course not. Nobody MAGA is going to be for this war. We're for intervention in Venezuela. We're for intervention in Mexico because those are in our hemisphere. Iran is nowhere near us. That's the difference. But this is a good video because he's explaining how all the Iranian missiles are getting through and how they're able to bomb all these different places and without being stopped, because the line of defense for the Gulf Coast has been destroyed. The THAAD system
that uses kinetic kill vehicles traveling at Mach 8 to destroy incoming ballistic missiles in their terminal phase. The IRGC's sequencing, first degrading long-range early war.
J-Bo, that's if you think my skin color is the same color as my hat, that means you're mentally retarded and you should get help, and you should probably not be on my stream. You should probably go to an eye doctor. You are mentally disabled. And that's why I kind of like don't interact with you people. You guys are mentally ill, and that's why you live in the areas you live in. You can't live around other Americans. You don't really belong in American society. That's why we're excising you. That's why the vaccine was created. You guys are you guys are one of the biggest problems we have in America, and we're doing what we can to mitigate it. The vaccine is just taking longer than we thought to activate.
Warning in Qatar, then targeting theater-level radar in the UAE, followed by the interceptor battery itself, suggests a deliberate operational design aimed at collapsing multiple defensive layers in a cascading manner. Such sequencing implies...
Yeah, but Israel's not a partner because what do they offer us? Nothing publicly. Israel doesn't share anything with us publicly. The only thing I could make heads or tails of in the Epstein files was that apparently Epstein invented some kind of technology with all these scientists that they initially were using it to predict the future of the stock market, and now they can predict the future of other events. They share that information with the U.S. There's no other benefit. When we were dying in Afghanistan, we couldn't even airlift soldiers to hospitals in Tel Aviv an hour away. They would have to go to Ramstein or Kaiserslautern in Germany 8 hours away because Israel's not our ally. We can't, if our ships get damaged, we can't even pull into the ports of Israel. They won't allow us as Americans. They're not our ally. The only thing we get from them is intel. And honestly, even that looking glass intel that we're getting could be fabricated now. We don't even know if it's true anymore. They have a history. The Zionists have a history of lies and manipulation. So I wouldn't even trust that anymore. So they're not an ally. And we have to get that out of our system and get over it. We have to swallow it, accept it, and move forward.
Advanced target intelligence, persistent surveillance, and calibrated strike planning that prioritized sensor nodes before kinetic interceptors, reflecting a systems-level approach to dismantling missile defense rather than striking individual platforms. Systems-level approach, not opportunistic targeting of visible military hardware. A deliberate three-step sequence executed across 5 days designed to dismantle the missile defense architecture from the outside in. First, blind the early warning system so defenders cannot see what is coming, then destroy the fire control radar so the interceptor battery cannot aim accurately, then destroy the battery itself.
Do you see how much planning and how extensive this was for Iran or whoever's helping us, whoever's helping the Iranians? They knew how this system worked. They knew which parts had to be broken down. Just shooting the battery wasn't enough. They had to go through the early warning detection systems. It's like they've been planning this for years. They knew they had one shot at this, because now the Americans and the Israelis are going to understand that we know that they know our systems. This is only one shot. That's why they can't stop. They can't, because all it's going to do is give the Americans and the Israelis time to do what? Rebuild, regroup, and reload. The same thing they did with the Russians in the Ukraine with the they came up with this fake truce with the Maidan 1 and Maidan 2. And even the chancellor from Germany, she even said, "Oh, we only pretended so that we were going to follow this treaty so that we could buy time to build up our forces in the Ukraine. We were never actually intending on taking the treaty seriously," which is exactly why the Russians are not hearing any of this ceasefire, truce, let's make a deal for what? You guys already stabbed us in the back. The Iranians understand that that's the history of the Americans and the Jews. They are not going to honor any of their agreements. They're going to come back and attack again. So it's in the best interest of anybody who is being threatened by the West to support Iran and to keep this going until they can't rebuild and come back again. And I'll be honest, but in my opinion, when this is over, these Gulf countries are not going to look at the United States the same, and they're not going to understand the purpose of the United States having forces in their region. And I think they're going to kick the Americans out. I don't think the Americans have a place in the Middle East or in the Gulf anymore, because the only thing we could offer these people were protection. And obviously we cannot protect jack shit. So then why are we there? I think they're going to have to rebuild this with a closer cooperation with the actual countries in the region. Depending on a country from the other side of the world to defend you from people in your own area, you're better off just making peace with your neighbors.
Whatever interceptors and drones remain in the network's depleted stockpile. The IRGC did not need to fire at the THAAD battery on day one. It waited until the radar was gone, because a THAAD battery without its radar is a billion-dollar collection of metal sitting in the desert, unable to engage any target. At current production rates, replacing 150 THAAD interceptors would take over 12 years. The U.S. received just 12 new THAAD rounds in the 2026 fiscal.
Wait a minute. So to replace these THAAD launchers that were destroyed using the current industrial military complex would take 12 years. So you know what that means? There's no unlimited supply that they're just going to airdrop to replace this. It's all fake, pretending that we have this extreme superiority where we can fight anyone, anytime, and we basically have the Starship Enterprise in space, and we're just so advanced. It's bullshit. It's all propaganda to scare other people from wanting to fight us, just because if they do fight us, they might find out that we're not as weak. They're not as weak compared to us as they think they are. They're only afraid of us because they watch all these American movies about war. I bet you some of these commanders still have nightmares about Rambo. And that's what's scaring them for wanting to fight the Americans. But now that the Iranians are like, we have nothing to lose, let's go for it. I think these other countries that are being hit from Iran, they're thinking to themselves, you know what, we're better off actually just making peace with Iran, because maybe the Iranians can protect us from the Americans when shit hits the fan, or they can protect us from Israel the next time. Because these countries are scared to death. You see how they just basically tried to punk and intimidate the Spanish because they wouldn't let them launch attacks from their air bases against Iran. So are you going to make those same threats against the GCC countries when they say no next time? Well, let's see how far that gets you. So much for diplomacy, right?
School year. Even with RTX's planned production surge and Lockheed Martin's target of 650 PASI-3 MSE units per year by 2027, full replenishment of the stockpiles being consumed in this conflict would take years, 12 years, to replace the interceptors being consumed in a war that Trump says could last 4 to 5 weeks. America received 12 new THAAD rounds in the entire 2026 fiscal year. The UAE alone intercepted 645 drones in 5 days, each requiring 1 missile to stop. The production arithmetic is not a future planning problem. It is a present operational crisis. And the THAAD battery that is no longer functional in the Gulf is a battery that cannot be replaced by the time any foreseeable phase of this war is over. The source document today identifies the single economic mechanism that explains why a $35,000 Iranian drone is more strategically consequential than any fighter jet, any warship, or any B-2 stealth bomber in America's arsenal. And understanding this mechanism explains why China is watching every interceptor fired over the Gulf with more strategic attention than any other country on Earth. Iran deliberately mixes cheap Shahed drones with expensive ballistic missiles in the same salvos. Defenders cannot distinguish between a $35,000 drone and a ballistic missile carrying a much larger warhead until the threat is classified by radar. And classification takes time that may not be available. The safe default is to engage every incoming object with a capable interceptor, which means expensive missiles get fired at cheap targets. The safe default is to engage everything. That is the operational instruction that every Patriot battery operator, every THAAD crew, every naval Aegis system aboard every destroyer in the Gulf is following right now. When you cannot tell the difference between a $35,000 drone and a ballistic missile carrying a warhead that could kill hundreds of people, you fire the interceptor every time. Because the cost of not firing, the cost of guessing wrong and letting the ballistic missile through, is catastrophically higher than the cost of firing a $4 million interceptor at a $35,000 drone. Iran built its salvo doctrine around that calculation. Every mixed salvo is not just an attack. It is a billing mechanism, a systematic method of forcing America and its allies to spend $4 million defending against a $35,000 expenditure.
You're going to spend $4 million per round to shoot down a $35,000 drone. But it might be a ballistic warhead, but it might just be a cheap drone. It's unsustainable long term. Now, when they said we had a week, that was 2 days ago. We have about 5 days more of ammo and of missiles to use to try to take down some of the ones that are being fired in the Gulf towards Dubai and Israel. We don't have we're being depleted. Iran is not. And Iran is not even being resupplied yet by the Chinese and the Russians, who are all a part of BRICS, and they are watching this. They're understanding that the Americans a lot of it is all talk. We don't even have our own ground forces anymore. Have you looked at the state of our military today? We are basically saying we're going to send in the Kurds. The Kurds are American prisoners from Iraq that we are going to now use them to go against Iran. And what if they decide to turn on the Americans and join the Iranians? Then what do you do? Obviously, these plans were not thought out long term. And what we're doing now is we're just exposing ourselves and we're showing that we do have weaknesses. That's why I did not want us to get into these wars in the first place. I already understood we weren't as strong as we claimed to be. We learned that a couple of years ago. We learned that back in June when Iran actually hit back at Israel and nobody wiped them off the map with 15 nukes. The truth is, no one has nukes. We have fire bombs. We have a mother of all bombs, but there is no radioactive nuclear missiles that all these different countries have. It's all fake bullshit. Dresden was hit with a firebomb, the same as Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That was the last time any civilian populations were ever even claimed to be hit with a nuke. That was almost 100 years ago. There's nothing but psychos all over the fucking world. You mean to tell me everybody's just, they're crazy as hell, but they just won't use a nuke? If nukes were a thing, it'd be a nuke going off every 6 months. But it's a good story to tell for why these countries are not invading each other. It's a good excuse. So once you remove the nukes off the table and it's just us having to fight each other, America does good against a militia. It's kind of like being a kid in 12th grade, but you're fighting a third grader. So you can beat the shit out of a bunch of third graders, but when you have to fight another grown man, like you have to fight another actual military, you're not going to just prevail and walk all over them. If anything, it might end in a stalemate. It's going to be a lot of lives lost, a lot of money lost for no reason. So that's why we don't engage with other militaries. Iran has another military. So do the Russians. So do the Chinese. Why do you think we've never invaded Russia or China? Why do you think we were doing a proxy war with all of those NATO countries and American troops in Ukrainian uniforms to fight the Russians? We were too scared to go against them ourselves because the odds of us coming out on top were slim to none. Russia destroyed all of NATO in the Ukraine. So we lost over there. And now we're going to lose again in Iran. Iran is not going to capitulate. The Iranians are already going to start rounding up all those homosexual women that have been burning pictures of the Ayatollah. All the gay kids, they're going to round them all up. They're going to execute them all. The country is going to remain in the hands of the Iranian people. It's going to remain a theocracy, and it's probably going to survive another 1,000 years. Our society, however, will probably last another, we'd be lucky to see 50. We don't have families anymore. We've embraced everything except what it means to be human. So when you're thinking about who's taking over this depopulation agenda, they want other countries to depopulate themselves too. Iran said no. Russia said no. China said no. They're going to keep their societies and keep their people. But over here in the West, we poison our people with our food, our water, our media. It's all poison. It makes us commit suicide. It makes us sick, and it makes us not want to have children. We don't even have wives. So that's a big problem. And that's why we've already lost this war. Let's go ahead and do some more videos of people explaining what's actually going on, shall we?
Just said briefing today. Here is what he said.
I stand before you today with one unmistakable message about Operation Epic Fury. America is winning decisively, devastatingly, and without mercy.
If we were really winning, we wouldn't need you to tell us. We have the internet, we have television, we have journalists on the ground. See, that's one thing about my people here in the West, Americans, we will lie to save face. That's what we do. And right now we're embarrassed because we bit off more than we can chew. And we're just praying that the Iranians magically decide to just give up. That way, no one has to think that we lost. But that's not going to happen. And this is going to have to ride all the way out, because if it doesn't, then the Israelis and the Americans are going to just come back in 6 more months and try it again. And by then, Iran might be in a worse position. We don't know. So they have to keep the pressure on now, because now they're in the best position because, well, our munitions are being depleted. They've already destroyed the missile defense systems and the THAAD system. So why stop? And they can't get the Iranians to stop. They're going to have to bribe them. Not so much for long. Dubai, the Americans, they're going to have to literally pay Iran to stop the fighting, just so that they are not embarrassed on a global scale in front of the world. Because don't forget, one of the biggest exports of the United States is our weapon systems. Iran is showing us that our weapon systems are inferior to their current technology. So now who's going to want to buy defense systems from the United States? We're doing a weapons test in real time. Who's going to want to say, those defense systems that just failed, that just got beat? Let me get 10 of those. Who's going to want to buy that paperweight bullshit now after you see how easily the Iranians have exploited it? Not even the Russians or the Chinese. The Iranians literally turned our shit into mush. Their missiles are getting through. I don't care how much lies you're seeing on CNN. The real footage is on the internet of what's hitting Tel Aviv, what's hitting Israel, what's hitting Dubai, what's hitting their oil fields, what's hitting Jordan, Kuwait, Qatar, what's hitting the UAE. They're bombing 15 different countries at once. The Americans' systems are not able to protect these places. So why would anybody buy more of these systems? It's bad for business. Really bad for business. And if they keep this up, then the entire world's going to be exposed to the fact that our weapons technology is outdated compared to the modern systems these other countries have. We don't have a counter for the drone technology. They're telling us we're in talks with Kiev, but Kiev's getting their ass kicked and they're about to lose their entire country to the Russians. So obviously their systems aren't that good either. We lost.
Yeah. What is your understanding of who is he addressing? Is he talking to the press, to the Democratic Party? He's talking to the people in the United States. He's talking to the people in the region, in the West Asia. Who is the audience?
Yeah, let the Iranians listen. There's a lot of people in Iran that's going to be executed. And the other ones, you don't want them in your country anyway because they're gay. So they're not going to have children. They're not going to be a part of your theocracy and your society. So it's kind of going to be like a Bay of Pigs. They're going to just expel the gays and the kind of worthless people and just send them to Europe. They're going to go to Europe. They're going to be on social services. They're not going to work because they don't have families to support. See, when you're a man and you have a wife and you have children, you work. That's a part of our DNA. We want to earn to support our families because we're independent. We're men. That comes along with being free is responsibility. You're responsible for yourself and for your family. But what happens when you don't have a wife and children to be your inspiration or to be your motivation to go work and go live? You guys act like you've never seen this before. Go look around. The people you see that are not contributing to society, they're not working, they're not doing anything constructive. They're people with no responsibilities, no wives, no kids, no family. That's your motivation in life. We are humans. There's only one or two ways that you can live. You're trying to reinvent the wheel in the ninth inning. It's not going to work. Yes, how many years have we had water and grass? There's nothing superior above water that you can use to water we can water your grass with Gatorade. You think you live in the future? You think that there's a better way of doing what's in nature? There's not. At the end of the day, you're still a human. You're meant to live a certain way. And if you don't, there's going to be consequences. So people who don't want to be humans and they want to go live this alternative lifestyle, they're going to kick them out of Iran. And those are going to be the ones who are going to leave as refugees. And let them go smother these other countries and their economies and drain them because they're not going to serve any purpose in Iran. They are not contributing. They're not working. They don't have kids. They don't have families. They're actually protesting because they don't want to be wives and they don't want to have kids. Then get the fuck out of the country. This country's going to want to stay there. They're going to keep their traditions and keep their values. And then if you want them to go to other countries that have no traditions and no values, is that what you want to brag about? That's what makes you proud, knowing that the United States, we no longer have traditions and we don't have values and we don't have families. That's what you think makes us superior? That you think that's what should be spread? I'll be honest with you. Nowadays, people wish the morality police they had in Iran, they wish we had it over here. They wish. Women are saying now it's men's fault that we let them liberate themselves because now 20 years later, they are getting older. They have no children. They have a lot of porn they did, but they have no husbands, no families. And what? Now they're depending on the government to take care of them because they have no families. There's no children that they can go move in with. There's no husband that they can retire with. There's nothing. So yeah, let them leave. Let them create a crisis. It's only going to be the gays that are leaving Iran. The people who believe in their religion, they want to have families and kids, they're going to stay. That's one of the best places for them. So you got to look at it from a wider lens, and you have to be more pragmatic with the vision. You have to understand what's actually happening here. You can't live in denial, and you can't look at the homosexuals in the thread in the comments that are like, oh, he's wrong. They're manipulating you. They don't want you to see who they really are, because then you might want to protect your kids from them. They don't want you to do that. They want you to leave your kids wide open so they can message them on Roblox. So just keep in mind, you can listen to me or you can listen to some of these gays, and good luck. But if you have any sense, that explains why you're here. And that's why we're having these conversations. I'm pro-America, but this war is anti-American. It doesn't make sense. It's not in the best interest of America. I know it's not in the best interest of America because no one's able to tell me what benefits it does for Americans. No one. Because there are none. So let's hear back what Ritter has to say. This is a very wise man as well. I like Scott Ritter.
I think everybody. This is a man who, Theodore Roosevelt once said, "Speak softly, but carry a big stick." Pete Hegseth is a man who is screaming loudly in order to impress on everybody that we have a big stick. But you have to be reminding everybody about how big, bad, and
well, look, if you don't like my inflammatory opinions, then don't subscribe to my channel. But if anything I'm saying resonates, or if you think about it, if it makes sense, I do implore you to subscribe. We're on 8 different platforms right now. I'd appreciate if you guys all would come over to the YouTube channel. It's Rico Limbaugh. I have a couple of different channels where I'm live on all of them right now. I have a new channel called The Dirty Demos that I'm going to be launching next week. It'll be a 3rd channel. And because all my content for the most part is just making fun of Democrats, making fun of blacks and gays. Basically, that is the Democrat Party, a bunch of blacks and gays who hate America. They hate tradition. They hate families. They hate kids. So I point that out in a humorous way. So the Dirty Demos is the other channel. We have an Instagram page for it, but there's going to be a YouTube channel for it as well. And the Dirty Demos is when I'll be doing my IRL group where I'm going to be inviting people. We're going to do like an in-person show. And I'm trying to do it like at least 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But hopefully we'll end up doing it 5 days a week. And we just sit there and we just talk about how the Democrats are destroying the country. And we give examples. I show you the different Democrat laws they've passed that protect pedophiles, the laws they've passed that protected Epstein. And I can tell you who passed the laws, and I can show you all the stuff that you had no idea that you were supporting. As a Democrat voter, you didn't even know you were a pedophile supporter. You didn't know you was a pedophile protector. But I can show you are. I can actually read to you the politics. I can read to you the laws that were passed to protect them, explain it to you clear as day. So that's why the Dirty Demos channel is being launched. But I'm also going to be simultaneously streaming on all the channels at once. So again, if you're on one of the other platforms, please come over to the YouTube, Rico Limbaugh, and subscribe to the channel, like the video, pushes me into the algorithm. Allegedly, I hear everybody else say that on YouTube, so I figured I would say it too. But I don't know if that's true or not. If you like it, if it makes sense to you, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and let's keep talking about it. I'm America first and America only. So that means everything that's going on outside of America, it can just fuck off. It does us no good. We don't need it. We don't need your imports. We have everything we need here in the United States. We can rebuild our own manufacturing. We don't need to import food. We got our own, we can grow our own crops here. We don't need to import your maple syrup. We don't need to import cars. We don't need to import anything. We even built the data centers and the chips that they were building in Taiwan. We've already built them here in Arizona. We don't really need to import anything anymore. We're self-sustainable. We only need our hemisphere. We don't need to be in the Middle East. We don't need to be in Russia. We don't need to be in Africa. We can send the African Americans back to Africa, and then they can go build up their own society instead of living outside of American society. Because African America, it's a different world. It's a different universe. It's not even a part of America. So we want those people to be repatriated back to their homeland so they can save their society, and Jasmine Crockett can become the president of Nigeria or Ghana. And that way their people will be happy. But let's keep Americans in charge of American politics, which is why we just removed the communists and the Marxists from politics in Texas. That trend is going to spread throughout the rest of the country. I'm going to continue to talk about it on my channels. Come over here to Rico Limbaugh. whatever channel you can find on YouTube, subscribe, and we're going to keep going over the future. We're going to do what we can to figure out what's going to happen beforehand and try to steer things in the right direction. We're going to do a great reset, but just in our favor. Fuck the World Economic Forum and fuck Klaus Schwab.
Important we are. Maybe we're not as big and bad and as important as we think we are. So I think there's a lot of bluster going up here to disguise the fact that we're in trouble in Iran. And he's doing his best to distract people from digging too deep into the fact that Iran has the strategic initiative. It's the United States that's reevaluating its plans every 24 hours, not Iran. And it's Pete Hegseth that has to go in front of people and play the role of cheerleader.
Scott, just in 2 days, we have seen Iranian attacking the headquarters or somehow those offices of CIA in the region.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. What American doesn't hate the CIA? I do. What American still trusts the FBI? Nobody. Does anybody trust Kash Patel? No. Is he telling us the truth about what happened to Charlie Kirk? No. Is he telling us the truth about what happened to anything that he's been involved with? No. And Dan Bongina, he left and went back to the private sector and he had no information for us about what's going on with the Epstein file. It turns out everything that he pretended to tell us was a lie. Fuck them all. All these people are liars. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not naive enough to think that there are not some things that are top secret for a reason because the public is too stupid or too soft to understand hard truths. I get that. But make that point. Don't demonize us for asking questions or for wanting more information. And then we find out later that you were lying to us. The CIA is so bad at lying to us that nobody even talks about the CIA anymore. So we don't know what they're doing. So then they shouldn't even be around. It shouldn't even be a thing. We need transparency going forward because as far as I can tell, the CIA is working against Americans. They're not helping or doing anything for us. They're working against us. I see the FBI working against Americans. I don't see them protecting or helping Americans. So when they tell me Iran hit a CIA base, I say bravo. The CIA is my enemy, as far as I can tell.
And how do you see this strategy on the part of Iranians? Because they started with it's not just about that Iranian drone strike we had on US-based ammunition warehouse in Iraq as well. And how do you see the way that Iran they're not just going after Israel, they're mostly focused in the region, in the Persian Gulf Arab states and around Iran. What is the strategy on their part?
I think the strategy of Iran is to permanently evict the United States from the Middle East.
That's what I said.
They're attacking the military installations. They're attacking diplomatic facilities. They're attacking intelligence facilities.
Yeah.
And they're attacking the nations that play host to these. So I think Iran is setting the conditions for eventual conflict termination, which will be Iran will stop these attacks when these nations kick the United States out of their soil.
I can absolutely see that being the case. For one thing, these military installations were all built back before Desert Storm. So that was like the early 2000s, in the 90s. Some of these installations were built. Now they're being destroyed. The Iranians and the locals in these countries that have been hosting these American bases, they're not going to allow American contractors to come in and rebuild. Because why? All they're going to do is risk being destroyed again. Now you're going to just make my country a target again, and you weren't able to protect us. So then that defeats the purpose of even having you here. You're creating more bad than good for our country and for our region. This is a beautiful strategy. Keep hitting these countries until they pressure the United States to leave. And what did I say in the very beginning of this podcast when it started? The reason they're putting so much pressure on Dubai by attacking them is because they're the only ones, because of the petrodollar and their influence, that can force the Americans and the Israelis to stop. So you only have to you really need to focus on Dubai. they're going to force the Americans to withdraw. They're not, or it might come to a point where you're going to have to fight these Gulf Coast nations because they might turn on the Americans. They might have to, because Iran is more a threat to them than the Americans are right now. It's going to be a cost benefit analysis that's going to have to be made, but it's going to have to be made quick because these countries don't have a lot of time. And Iran is not letting up. They're bombing day and night. Just because CNN isn't telling you about it and Fox News, just because fucking Wolf Blitzer and Anderson Gay Cooper is not on there giving you a play-by-play, it doesn't mean that's not what's happening. At the end of the day, the military-industrial complex controls our media, and they don't want to make us look bad because they're going to still want your support as an American. Unfortunately, you have independent media like myself that is going to give you a different opinion. I'm going to show the evidence. I'm going to bring on other people who are going to talk about what's happening, like Scott Ritter and this guy, Nima. He talks too slow. We're going to go to another video. But we're going to give you a different perspective and some other things to consider. That's why they don't like us independent media, guys. We're not beholden to them and their bullshit. I'm not controlled by the military industrial complex. I didn't take the Tim Pool bash Candace Owens check. So I can just go, I can just basically say it, say how I see it. And this is what I'm seeing. So let's continue. Oh yeah, let's go to another video. I like what Scott Ritter is saying, but this guy Nima is putting me to sleep. Pause. So let's go to Douglas McGregor.
I think what Iran has to do is survive. If Iran survives, they will be victorious. And they're dealing right now with the United States Armed Forces and the Israelis, who are effectively waging a campaign that is designed not just to decapitate the state, in other words, eliminate the leadership.
By the way, Stephen Harrell, I'm not a black. I have no idea what the fuck that even is. I'm not one of you. So because of that, you're probably in the wrong chat, my friend. You're going to have to go find a black or a non-American. I'm an American. I'm not a black. So my family's from Cienfuegos. I'm from an immigrant family. I live in the United States. I haven't been Cuban in a very long time. I'm an American. You are confused. So you're going to have to go to another person's chat. You maybe find a Dr. Umar or a Jasmine Crockett or one of these other, pathetic gays that are, that's a black thing to be gay. Go find one of them. Go follow them. Please leave. Where this is an American thread. This is an American video for Americans. It's an America first, America only. You got to go take that black bullshit somewhere else. It's not going to, this is not the place for it.
But to destroy the society, to cause it to disintegrate. That's really what they want to do. If they can do to Iran what they failed to do to Russia, and Iran fragments, then they can exploit the oil resources as they wish. Ideally, they'd like the Iranians to capitulate and then to accept a puppet regime that reports to Israel, that is subordinate to Israel. Israel is the beachhead, so to say, for the control over the region. I don't think it's going to work. And I think a great deal of punishment can be meted out to Iran for some period of time. But there are already people in Washington who are claiming victory, who are saying that they have defeated the air and missile defenses and they can now attack at will. And it is simply a matter of time until the Iranians are exhausted. I'm not sure I buy that. I just don't know the details. I think what we've seen thus far is that we have been unable to prevent the missiles from penetrating all of the air and missile defenses in Israel and in the Gulf. If I were living in UAE right now, or Qatar, or any of these places, the first question I would ask is, why do we want these Americans in our countries anymore? Look what's happened to us. They haven't been able to protect us, and yet they said they would protect us. This is the sort of thing that we don't think about in the West, but I think that's something that is on people's minds in the Gulf. Israel is in a different position. For Israel, this is a do or die proposition. Either they're victorious and they establish their hegemony over the region, or they are defeated and potentially destroyed. The United States is simply doing what the Israelis wanted to do, which is destroy their principal opponent. Although keep in mind, Eddie, that the Israelis have already, within the last 2 weeks, identified Turkey, or Turkey, as people like to call it, as potentially an even more dangerous enemy than Iran. And so many of us have begun to think that if we are successful in destroying Iran, that Turkey will be the next on the menu, because the Israelis will want to destroy them. Now, they've recently called up 100,000 men in the Israeli armed forces from the reserves, and they are now invading Lebanon again. How far do they plan to go? Be to the Litani River or all the way to Beirut? I don't know. I know that at least one Merkava Israeli tank was destroyed by Hezbollah, and Hezbollah is obviously fighting. They're launching missiles and rockets at Israel, and they are fighting against the Israeli army as it moves up through the country. There are a lot of things happening that nobody's reporting right now. Right now, the CIA and the Mossad are trying to put together an invasion of Iran by the Kurds. They're trying to persuade the Kurds in northern Iraq and in Syria to organize for an invasion of Iran. And they're promising the Kurds a state of their own if they are successful in do so. Now, this is very threatening to both Turkey and Iran, because that state would be composed of territory that is partially Iranian and partially Turkish. So there's a lot going on, and the fact that we are encouraging this right now leads me to believe that the air and missile campaign is not quite as successful as advertised.
That's my professional assessment as well. If the air campaign of bombing Iran to hell was working, we would not be offering Kurdish prisoners their own homeland if they go and invade Iran from the ground on our behalf. We wouldn't need to do that. The Kurds are prisoners. They were prisoners taken in Iraq. They're literally in prison, and we're basically letting out soldiers, giving them guns and telling them, we'll give you your own homeland and freedom if you go attack the Iranians. If you're Kurdish, you're going to realize the Iranians are fighting the West on your behalf as well. It would make nothing but perfect sense for you to join the Iranians and turn on the Americans at that point. But we're desperate right now. We're desperate for a win. We're desperate. We've run out of options. We're running out of ammunition. And throwing the Kurds into Iran, it's a Hail Mary. But even John Madden himself would not believe that that was going to be an effective strategy. I'm not the only one saying this. I have not watched this video. So the fact that, Colonel Douglas McGregor and I have came out with the same assessment, that means that I'm onto something. And I'll be honest, I didn't use it and not believe in myself when it came to this. I thought I was just a guy talking. Now I'm making videos, and then I go to bed, my videos get posted, I wake up, and there are people who made videos after mine. I'm not sure I don't think they watched mine. I don't know if they did, but they're literally saying the same thing. And these are the people that have audiences that are 100 times my size. They actually came up with the same, same scenario. They came up with the same outcomes that I came up with. So that means that I just should keep going, because maybe I have some insight. Maybe my pragmatic and logical way of looking at things is important. Maybe it's valuable. So that's why I make these videos, and I'm going forward. I'm trying to figure out what's best for my country and for my people, which are Americans. The best thing for us is going to be to pull out of this, even if it's in disgrace, come back home, protect our borders, and go kick a new one into the ass of Mexico, stop the drugs, and then go from there.
And, the last time we spoke, you were making a very profound point about the power that the Israeli lobby has in the United States. Mm-hmm. And that this backing up of Israel in its objective, as you call it, is do or die objective by U.S. military power. It's not popularly supported. Is that changing, or is it still very unpopular amongst ordinary Americans?
Well, without traveling across the country, I have to rely on the polls. I did travel recently, but not after the war had begun. My suspicion is that Americans are not supportive of it. And as we were talking earlier, if you go back and look at polling data, the overwhelming majority of Americans were opposed to involving ourselves in the First World War. We did not support a war against Germany and Austria-Hungary. Again, in 1939, 40, and 41, we were opposed to war against Germany. The only reason we ended up being drawn into the war against Germany is because the Japanese bombed us.
Hey, you know what? That's a very good point, Nathan. The offer of a Kurdish separatist homeland is bullshit, bogus. It'll never manifest. Even if they did win, they were never going to just cut out a piece of land, give them money, and then think that they were never going to turn on the Americans and bite the hand, not just the hand that imprisoned them, but the hand that fed them afterwards. We've learned that people hold on to animosity. Just because you freed them and told them to go do a job for you, even if you pay them afterwards, the fact that you imprisoned them in the first place, they are never going to forget that. It's a bogus offer. We are never going to make good on it. We have a history of stabbing people in the back. We don't have a history of making good on our promises. The Kurds, I think, are going to know this. You're absolutely right, Nathan. Good point.
And Hitler stupidly declared war on us. If he hadn't done that, it would have been very difficult to persuade Americans to go to war against Germany. And that's not surprising. Just as we have millions of people of Irish Catholic ancestry, we had millions and millions of people of German ancestry. And people were not supportive of these wars. Today, I think the situation is not very different. We're sick of all the interventions from Vietnam to the interventions in Latin America, all the way forward to our relentless wars in the Middle East. Americans voted for Donald Trump because he promised to end this. He said he would stop what he called the forever wars. There would be no more interventions in the Middle East. Yet this is the thing that he's done. As soon as he's been in office for a year, he's begun a war. This was not forced upon us. This is a war that Israel wants.
And that's the problem. Trump is going against MAGA. MAGA is not Trump. Trump's a part of MAGA. MAGA is a bigger movement about protecting our homeland. We're nationalists. We're patriots. We want to focus on America first and America only. We don't want to worry about these other countries and what's going on. It's not our business. And we've been invading other countries for 30 years now? I look around in the United States, I don't see any direct benefits. All I see are a bunch of refugees and illegals who have came over to this country and have taken opportunities away from young Americans who are coming to age into the workforce, but they're blocked out because of illegal slave labor and refugees, people who should not be here. I don't see any benefit, and that's why we don't want anything to do with these foreign wars. They're not pro-American. And they're not pro-protection. We have these two oceans. The only borders we got to worry about being crossed are the southern and the northern. Other than that, we should not be in these other countries. And that's why we don't support it. I supported Trump because of he's made a lot of great advancements here in the U.S. Jobs are coming back. Rents are going down. Gas is going down. But this conflict right here is going to eventually lead to more inflation. However, rents are going down because of the deportations. What ICE has done is change the makeup of society in California. Removing illegals, reduce crime, reduce the price, that housing bubble, all those false numbers. It's nothing but benefits of getting rid of these people who don't belong here. Trump did an amazing job with that. He needs to focus on the domestic stuff. That's what he's good at. He's not good at geopolitics. Do me a favor, like and subscribe, share the video. I'll be back on with another topic in about 20 minutes. So if you can, subscribe to the channel. That way you can get an alert, press a little bell. So that way you know when I'm back on. I have some other topics I'm going to put together for today. We got a long day of going over what's happening in all over the world with different topics. So remember to like and subscribe.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.